That's what I'm saying, man. Use your brain, use your brain. But in case you can't use your brain, use brain dead in chat. It was Raze, Jon Snow, Rob, and Vindicta. So actually 2 Protoss, 1 Zerg, and 1 Terran, which means that they don't have to be here today. So there's a even greater chance for 4 other young North Americans to actually get through here. And I do have some names that I'm already thinking will make it through this time, but we'll talk about that after the introductions. In the top right, as the blue Terran, it is Ruff.
And in the bottom left, the red Protoss pieces, it's vkSimon. Now, I believe this guy is actually a Vietnamese player from memory, so I remember him from some of our qualifiers over my side of the hemisphere.
Oh, I did not know that.
Confirm that. I just said something, but I should have confirmed it before I said it. This is Casting 101 for all you guys that want to get into casting someday. vkSimon is Justice Simon. Justice Simon is a Vietnamese proto. Oh yeah, Maynard. Nailed it.
Way to go. Get it. I was gonna say he didn't actually put his region on the bracket, so I couldn't help you. I wanted to, but I couldn't.
It's that memory. His old man still got it.
Yeah. Yo, check it out. I think this is all because of you, Maynard. Thank you, Snuck MTGO, for the tier 2 new sub.
God.
Thank you very much.
You know what? If there was a tier 50, I would be your only tier 50 sub. Actually, no, I wouldn't. It'd be me and a bunch of other people that know what's up.
Yeah.
Because there's some woke people out there in Twitch land.
Tier 50 would be like $5,000.
Tier 50, I don't even know. I don't even want to do the math on that. Tier 3 is 25, so tier 50 would be. Oh god.
Well, it doubles.
Too far.
Yeah, doubles for tier 2, and then like triple. Well.
All right. Well, if it's just a double,
quintuples.
then it would be a. It'd be a $2,500. No, it'd be a $250 sub, I think. Thereabouts.
Okay, well, leave that for the mathematicians in chat.
Yeah.
And I'm no mathematician, but I can count to 2, and I see that there's 2 barracks for Ruff.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and this is also a double reacted barracks. This isn't the old, oh, I'm gonna get stim and drop a factory and go for, you know, I'm not gonna go for your dad's 2 racks. I'm gonna go for my 2 racks, the new age 2 racks. This is Reaper with an engineering bay, and that engineering bay, ZombieGrub, that's gonna have +1 attack on it, and Ruff is gonna make a bunch of upgraded Reapers and try and kill the Protoss with them.
That's exactly right. It's not unheard of if you watch this guy's stream, if you have heard about NA strats. Well, a lot of them are probably things that Ruff does, like, well, on his stream. Like, if they're gonna face Ruff, you know what's up. And one of them is like this Reaper shenanigans, which he's been doing for years, by the way. He would even do this versus Zerg, and he would make like a planetary fortress and like lift it to their base, and it's just, this guy has the builds, and vkSimon, I mean, he better be prepared for him. He's probably like, what the hell's going on right now? Because he has scouted really not much.
Not really, yeah. And Ruff is such a hard. I mean, obviously his mechanics aren't the best in the whole world, but he is one of the hardest players in the entire world to read. And I doubt that Justice Simon or vkSimon's had a whole lot of experience against this kind of strategy. This isn't what everyone, like a lot of Vietnamese players will play on Korean ladder. And sees 4 Reapers roll up. They don't quite have +1 yet. It's only halfway done. I still think 3 Stalkers is enough to hold up a bunch of unupgraded Reapers. When that number starts to get up to like 8 or 10, then I'm going to get a little bit worried here for Simon. He's even starting an Immortal Ride now. Does that help him here?
I think basically just producing stuff is helpful. But I would actually think that eventually getting to like a nice number of Stalkers and Blink would actually be the best way to go, because Immortals are like, they're chunky, but only kind of. They're slow to produce and rather expensive. So you're still gonna have a like overall small army.
Yeah, it's a few dead probes right there. And the good thing about New Repugnancy is Ruff's showing us right now is, you know, Protosses like to blink down this ledge and harass your mineral line. Well, Terrans can use Reapers and do that too.
Yes, they can. That +1's about to finish. War Prism is not a bad idea to try and maybe save your couple of Stalkers from being one-shot, but what is an increasing number of Reapers. But
yeah,
again, this is all going down to like, he doesn't have a very big army, and crowd control is going to make it so like these won't get many shots at all. In fact, don't even need crowd control apparently.
These +1 Reapers are 2-shotting Stalkers. This is insane. They're like 4-shot an Immortal.
Well, that's actually this game. Yes, it is.
Wow. Okay, well.
Damn. NA things.
Y'all wanted some NA. You got some NA to start things off with. That's for sure. That's insane. That's the most NA game I've seen in a while. That said, though, I did see TY Ghost Rush against Leonok, which was a pretty NA strat, but it was also on high like Grandmaster Korean ladder. So, is it truly NA if it makes it over to that part of the world?
It's a decent question. I don't know. I watched that game, by the way. I cast that game because Borsty was like, "That's a good game."
As an avid fan of yours, I do check your YouTube content, and I do recall seeing an upload of Leonok versus TY best of 3. It's up there on youtube.com/ZombieGrab. Don't forget the A's.
Yes, it is, and that was a weird game. I don't know.
It was.
I don't know.
And game 1 was like, that's just that's TVZ with a lot of roaches. Game 2 was like, all right, this is weird.
Yeah.
The real meat and potatoes is game 2 if you want to fast forward through game 1. But please don't, because you're missing an entire, 12-15 minutes of ZombieGrub casting? If you wanna mess up that badly, that's on you. Like if you want to go and do hard drugs and disappoint everyone around you, that's also a terrible decision that you can do, but it is your choice. But we would hope that you'd know better. That's what we're trying to say.
Well, we all know how like scarce it is for me to cast. Never happens.
Yeah,
take
you
it
don't
while
cast
you can
very
get
much.
it. Yeah,
That's
for
right.
sure. Well, I don't even know what Protoss does against that. Actually, I don't.
I think you skip the robotics facility. You make a ton of gateways, and you get shield batteries, like similar to how a Terran defends against DTs. I think like how they put a turret next to their production and then a turret in each mineral line.
Yeah.
I would probably put a shield battery in production and a shield battery in each mineral line and just sit there.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, it kind of sucks because you don't know exactly what he's doing, and you're already like invested into the robo. But
yeah, no, I'm theory crafting. I'm nowhere near as good as any of these players, and this is just something that I thought about, like as you said it, because I never sat there going, how do you stop this?
Yeah, but I'm with you. I feel like an Immortal is $275 now, I believe, in minerals. And
yeah, it's so expensive.
That's almost 3 shield batteries, but at least one in the front of your production, because they're gonna hop up on, and in front of your natural base. I feel like is a good start, and then you're also just consistently pumping stalkers from the gateway, which he stopped, and faster gateways, I suppose. But that's just it's such a weird thing to expect and to handle. Yeah, I don't know. But if you do stop the snowball, then it does look silly in the other way. So. Here's that.
Simon says, a nice BO, dude. Damn, guys. Shade being thrown in chat is talking about Ruff's body odor. It's pretty sick.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
I haven't even noticed that.
Yeah, I think now you mention it, like if you're getting the Immortal, I mean, put it this way, if you're up against like 8 plus Reapers, is there really a Cyclone on the way? Probably not.
No. I mean, maybe like 10. If also, because Ruff was building a command center behind that, so I guess there's a plan beyond just building Reapers. But
I'm sure of it. I imagine that's the amazing thing about this kid that we're seeing here in the bottom right of Port Alexander. His name is Ruff, representing Science Storm. The coolest thing about this guy is that not only will he whip out the weird strats, but it's not all in on Plan A. There's a Plan B, C, all the way through Plan H, I think, or I. It's a pretty deep plan.
Somewhere there.
Somewhere around.
Now the top left is the red Protoss Simon, also doing something weird this time, going for a low ground gateway. Now it is Port Alexander, so I actually, this isn't weird. This actually makes a ton of sense.
Yep.
It's a bad Reaper spot, bad Reaper map to begin with. There's no Reaper hop-up spot, but then you wall off and there's like really nowhere for the Reapers to abuse. But Ruff doesn't actually, like that, the power of that build wasn't necessarily the hopping up and being like, oh, where am I? It was actually just literal damage output, so...
Yeah, like if the last map was Port Alexander and there wasn't a wall off, I think those Reapers still do that much damage.
Yeah, exactly. But Ruff probably figuring this isn't a great map to do that. It's just in case he would need to find some, better access paths. Maybe there are enough units and he has to go for the probe kills. This wouldn't be a great map for it. He's also figuring that his opponent would be hard countering such a build. Is going to go for 1x expand at first. Now, I'm pretty sure he has something weird set up here. Yeah, you're right. It is gasless. That's why the Marine's popping out.
What up, part of the swarm? We're back.
Yeah. That was great. Wings of Liberty, the Terran player could literally have one build and, like, practice it against every single race, and it wasn't that bad.
It was pretty good to watch Marine King Prime make 4 command centers before he got a gas. It was always fun times in Wings of Liberty.
Yeah, or a bunker.
Yeah.
He was always he kind of gets pushed into the corner of my brain alongside like SOS and Sniper, of guys who might actually be like really fun, really cool people, really great players, maybe, but who unfortunately killed some of my favorite players. So I just never really got on board the hype train. Like, I still kind of don't like Marine King Prime for what was ultimately a steal on that GSTL win against Startail, but whatever, like, I'm getting over it. 7 years later, it's happened. It's happened.
You're starting to make progress 7 years later. You're almost there.
Exactly, yeah.
I personally, there's some GSL champions out there, chat, that likely a lot of you have forgotten about, and I personally forgot about one of them. Until I went to the GSL studios for GSL versus the World and looked at that wonderful wall of champions, and I saw Roro. And I'm like, oh my god. Now there's another name. When you talk about the ones that have been lost into the folds of history, he is actually a GSL champion. No one remembers.
Yeah. Someone was like, we were having like a pseudo argument about like Sniper being a forgotten champion, and he was like, yeah, he's like the only one, but he's not even that forgotten. I was like, nah, he's not the only one. And the person was like, oh yeah. Jakshi. Yeah, exactly. Like, well, for me, I actually do remember Jakshi, but that's like, you could even make an argument for that. But there's Roro and there's Seed. No one remembers that Seed won out of GSL.
Oh, Seed, right.
Exactly. And that was like a really cool place for GSL. It was just a really bad finals and GSTL finals too.
I really like what Simon's doing here, by the way. We got ourselves a proxy Dark Shrine. He's going to fight fire with fire and get weird here. Now, Ruff is going for very quick ghosts. And obviously, if you can land great EMPs, you can detect the Dark Templar. You decloak them for a bit. But I still like it from vkSimon. I think changing things up and getting inside this guy's head is going to be a great way to come back here.
Yeah, I like the change up as well. Ruff is absolutely not doing any scouting, so as far as being unscouted, that part's successful. But the weird thing is that Ruff went into double factories, first of all, so we're going to have some mech. We're also going to very quickly have some ghost mech, some spooky mech. Like, the Ghost Academy's done, a ghost is on the way, and EMP does reveal cloaked units, so you'll have at least one EMP available, and we'll see how far that gets Ruff. But if he only gets like one, for instance, then he's probably still going to take a heck of a lot of damage.
Yeah, I mean, the DTs have also got this prism to add a sort of like a variable to this equation, where the prism could just, I mean, it's the same as a High Templar. If the DTs are in the prism, they don't get EMP'd. They're fine. So in comes this first prism here with 2 DTs in it. Another DT also going towards that natural. Now, Ruff does not have any engineering bay, no hope of a turret here. That Widow Mine actually hurts that Warp Prism so much that a Ghost could actually A-move through it. He does get the EMPs in the Dark Templar. Oh, doesn't pick them up and loses the prism. vkSimon's in so much trouble. Yeah,
that was about as good as it really could have gone for Ruff there. He even has a scan for the 3rd DT. That was the natural, getting a decent number of kills. So 12 SCVs go down in total. He also finally got scouting on what exactly Ruff was going to do. Now the Observer comes in to see if he ever is going to push out Ariat Lake as well. And overall, I feel like it's not that bad. As long as vkSimon has his economy up, his macro up, which he does. 2 base saturation, blink almost halfway done. And the DTs could still be further annoyances. Plus, they could turn into Archons if, you know, you're being pushed.
Yeah, it's an expensive build from vkSimon. You hit the nail on the head. It's actually not really hurt him that much. I mean, if he keeps doing that, like losing DT for absolutely nothing, then maybe it'll snowball. But at the moment, he's okay. He's got a much bigger economy back at home. Being up like a dozen probes at this point of the time against the Terran isn't the hugest deal in the whole world. It's pretty common. Generally, the Terran has a bigger army that can annihilate what you have back at home. I think Ruff's on his way there, but he's not quite there yet, especially now that some mortal production's on the way here for vkSimon.
Yeah. I actually really like that he's gotten some Blink first. He knows that it's mech by now, so he was already kind of going into Blink, but actually Blink, as an initial step against Terran mech, is not bad whatsoever. You can get on the map and stall pushes that they try to do, snipe these units, you can get a tank if you have enough stalkers, things like that. And it's actually quite helpful, and then maybe if you buy enough time, you can fit in charge as well which is helpful against, well, what is usually an increased tank count. But Ruff is actually so hardcore on these Blue Flame Hellions, which, I don't know, like if the Protoss's first expectation was to, almost lost the Warp Prism again, to go for charge lots, then that's an amazing thing to have, but vkSimon doesn't actually have units that are that vulnerable to Hellions.
Yeah, I mean, the Immortal and Stalker is certainly not that vulnerable to these units, as they are, you know, I'm pretty sure Stalkers are armored.
Yeah.
Like a little bit extra armor on there, yeah. So they, that's why the Marauders do better damage to them. There you go. It's first thing in the morning. I've only had one coffee, so.
Yeah.
We had the double armory going down here, and Blue Flame 3/4 of the way done for Ruff, and he's turtling so hard that really the map is all vkSimon's. Like, you could have even taken this third a little bit earlier, I feel, but he's caught up in the worker count at least. Like, Terran's getting there. Protoss seems to have cut worker production for now. While he's getting his third, which is interesting to me.
Yeah,
He's also got a lot of chrono boost.
Yeah, the chrono boost is just, yeah, he should be using that. But the probes makes sense. Maybe start producing them again once that third's like 3/4 of the way done. And that's all the way the chrono would go into. But yeah, I agree. This could have been a faster third, but I don't blame vkSimon for thinking that Ruff was probably doing some type of 2-base push earlier. Once you see ghosts included with that, it's like, well, you got to use them sooner rather than later, because why not just wait till later if you're going to get them? I know.
Hellbats are actually joining the fray against these Stalkers. And Hellbats are easier to micro against for a Protoss because they're a little bit slower. They do a little bit more splash, I guess, in a cone rather than a line. The EMPs are going to be deadly here. He does blanket most of the Immortals. One of the Immortals is dead. Another one drops there. He's down to one. The last Immortal goes down. And now it's just Stalkers. A lot of them with half their hit points missing from these shields being gone.
Yeah, that was, okay, so our Archons coming in the back, and they do live for the most part. That's going to be really helpful. vkSimon definitely, I think, should have just blink microed that instead of pulling back. That was a lot of missed opportunities to kill the units, but I think he still has enough. Good focus fire from Ruff on top of the Stalkers, but that's just too many.
Yeah, so many Stalkers here, and Archon's going to ruin the rest of his day here with that War Prism, and the third is still alive for vkSimon. And didn't really lose too many. I mean, both players have lost some probes here, have lost some workers rather. But vkSimon has an army where, I mean, Ruff knows it. He's lifting up his third and he's going up to the main, because I was going to say he has an army where he can just go across the map, and there's enough left over that Ruff, as the mech player, needs to wait to be able to get his ball of stuff back up. You know, when you're a mech player and you lose your army like that, you don't really have a second army back at home waiting for a second wave. You kind of boned for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, Ruff's actually in what should be a terrible position unless he gets some seriously sick Hellion run-bys. But that's, you know, vkSimon started this game off the wall, so hopefully they'll be a little less likely, as I say it, for Hellions to come in with nothing scouting them. So that could be a lot of barbecued probes.
I like this a lot for Ruff. Just going to use the tools that he has as effectively as he can. Running in and getting a bunch of probe kills. And these charge lots are going to be a little bit annoying. They're going to push them away from the probe line, but their job is done. They've pulled vkSimon all the way back, giving Ruff time to make some more better mech units. He's actually getting a lot of Thors here. I don't know about the Thor.
Yeah,
I don't know what it does. What does it do?
I'm not sure either. Some Protosses, if they're already on 3-base saturation, might already be swapping gears into Stargates, but yeah. I would usually say it's more like a 4-base thing.
Yeah. So that you guys know out there in chat land, Thors, while they look like a giant devastating mech unit, they are actually just an anti-air unit.
Yeah.
Thors are not used for ground attacks unless they absolutely have to and you have nothing left. See those giant cannons on its back? That's for shooting air units. At the moment, vkSimon has a grand total of 0 air units. Actually, no, he has 1 observer. That's in the air. And a War Prism. That's also in the air.
Yeah, excuse you, sir.
Excuse me.
I really can't explain it. Like, they do pack a punch, to be clear. Like, I mean, they do, like, if like 10 Ultras try to surround them and there's 10 Thors, like, I guess the Thors win. But yeah, it's just not something that you really want. And in this case, mech versus Protoss. Protoss is actually the one with, like, more units, which is just usually the opposite in this matchup. And Thors just, like, start to do poorly against more units, unless it's, you know, they're dealing with big capital airships. So I don't know. You have to ask Ruff about this swap over.
You can get that War Prism.
Yeah, he could. Well, he could have. Maybe not anymore.
Oh, big collapse of gateway units here from vkSimon with some Archons, which are probably the scariest unit in this composition. The Immortal at the back line. So many Stalkers. Ruff hasn't landed any EMPs just yet. He's got those Ghosts here with plenty of energy. There's those EMPs. All right. Gets them all over the gateway units. Will it be enough, though? It looks like the mech army is really getting thinned out. The SCV pool actually helping quite a bit. The gateway units are gone now. It needs more charge lots here.
Oh, that Warp Prism's dead. Ooh, barely gets that last Zealot Warp in. Oh, it's even getting a micro. Oops. No, target it.
Almost kill it, kill it, kill it.
They're targeting the big units, which, I mean, he does kill the Immortals and finally gets that Warp Prism. And ultimately, vkSimon is the one that loses his army.
Yeah, you know what? Thors are... I think I know why he made the Thors. I think they're anti-immortal. As weird as it is, when I saw those Thors hitting that Immortal, they actually annihilated it.
Yeah. They do have decent damage. We have seen them take on the bigger units, right? But it usually comes down to a weakness of, like, they get overwhelmed. Like, they get overwhelmed by the Zealots, they get overwhelmed by Lings, they get overwhelmed by Stalkers even. But if you do get to a decent number of them, sure, okay. Yeah, I guess they pack a punch. I'm going to go ahead and blame Ruff's positioning for vkSimon getting a little overconfident. We're just saying, like, you know what? I have a Protoss army, you have a mech army. This is stupid. This is laughable. Let's just move in here.
Which generally is true.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, when you underestimate the power of Thors, because they do have some decent damage, but you also underestimate the power of EMP, especially when they blanket your Archons, when they pop the Immortal Shields, then the Thors really do instantly KO them. Then that's suddenly when you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But you only realize it after the battle's done, and you've dipped down below their army supply.
I like that Ruff has just been so patient with his army. The mech army is really the most powerful when it's defensive and just a concave with a lot of static defense around. He's built turrets around his army as well. So Dark Templar aren't really a thing at the moment for vkSimon. And also the fact that if you want to come in there with an Observer or something, that gets pushed back. And strangely enough, the Mech Terran is getting better upgrades than the Protoss right now. He's got 2-2 on the way, and just +2 attack is on the way for vkSimon, and later than +2 attack from the Terran. I mean, generally, Protoss has got much faster upgrades than Terran, because generally in PvT there's a double forge. But this game's gone a lot differently, and vkSimon is neglecting to get that second forge.
Yeah. Yeah. We are seeing, you know, like, both these players are not pros. Ruff is GM, so he's pretty damn good at this game. But, you know, Simon is at least Masters League for now. I don't know if he's ever made GM before. And I think there could have been a much smoother macro transition, just game plan behind all of what's happened here. So usually you'd see even a disastrous fight like that in TVP. If it's offensively, if it's the Protoss, like, on the Terran side of the map, they actually get, like, another chance, basically, to be like, you know what, that didn't work, let's try this again. Which I still think Simon has. You know, he is getting into even like more Immortals here, actually double pumping Immortals, which I still think ultimately is not bad, but we are seeing what I think I would never actually expect to see or be interested in seeing, which is like mass Immortals versus mass Thors. And like, is it come down to numbers? It's like the Thor numbers are winning right now.
I mean, there's been some times where I've jumped into Unit Tester just out of, like, for science, check things out. But I've never made a big ball of Immortals and a big ball of Thors, given them 2-2 upgrades, and then made them clash. Like one of those kids when you have, like, your 2 action figures and you're just bashing them against each other, going nah nah nah, like that kind of thing. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, right. But yeah, this is it's a more complex army than it initially would seem. The Hellbats do chew through the charge lots, which would give Thors a difficult time. And then the EMPs are pretty brutal against what is a lot of the natural predators of mech, which is Archons and Immortals, because they do pop the shield, get rid of a lot of health in general, right? And leave the Immortals thus, like, very open, immediately open to the Thors. It's like, imagine those lurker battles that happen with Immortals. Like, they look amazing, then they lose their shields, and they look really dumb. Yeah. Like, imagine if Zerg got EMP. They would never lose with lurkers, I think, against Protoss.
There is a hive mind of Terran out there that believe late game Ravens shouldn't exist in this matchup. But I actually love this Raven from Ruff, because think about what he's up against. He's up against a lot of armored units. He's got an army that does do a lot of damage. If he can get a really good Hunter Seeker missile or an Armor Seeker missile on these Protoss units, splashes all those, then I could see fights that he would lose somehow being won.
Yeah,
especially with an EMP.
I would have liked to see some play around High Templars as well, trying to feed back some of these ghosts, or actually simply straight up storm some of these Hellbats that are awfully clumped up, but I don't think vkSimon was thinking about that as he made this army, which all of the Immortals, by the way, their shields have been popped, so they will die to this Thor army.
Yeah, they will. This is, I mean, the DT's coming in from the back. He does drop a scan, and so the DTs do die. So, yeah, maybe the Thors just annihilate the ground. I think the Murdoch's here. It's actually not even close. Oh, my God. And then again, the Raven was just used for